Hello, namaste, beautiful cosmic beings. I hope you're well. I just instinctively picked a few cards just without even thinking a few minutes ago, and as usual, what came through was so bang on, so poignant that I just had to do a video and share with you right now in this moment. So, forgive me, I'm actually recording on two devices, live on Instagram and also on my phone so that I can post it on my YouTube channel. It's just what we have to do to get the message out these days. Okay, so what is coming through? Well, before I go into the cards and before I go into, what I'm really feeling out there, I just want to say that this is also coming from a place of real experience. I energetically, emotionally, physically feel the collective right now. I can feel what is going on out there. I don't watch the news. I don't really indulge in deep conversations with people about what's on the news, with people who watch the news. I don't really go into the he said, she said politics of what's going on out there, because I want to keep my energy really, really clear and really clean. I want to be able to show up and do my therapeutic work without really any interference of all of that. And also, it helps me to be able to be more sensitive and pick up what's going on. But I absolutely respect everyone out there who is going it, whether you are getting really involved in what the media is telling you, what your doctors are telling you or not. I fully respect where you're at. I really also understand that this is not an easy time. And that for many of us who feel lost or confused, it's of course natural and normal to want to go to your doctor or your social worker or your local police officer or people that work for the welfare state, that work in your interest. It's normal to want to seek advice and support from those people. And so I'm absolutely not saying in any of my messages that what the healthcare system is telling you, what the news is telling you is wrong or not appropriate. What I will say is that the fear that is being pushed as an agenda, as a tactic, whether that's being done willingly, knowingly by certain institutions, or maybe it's not being done willingly or knowingly, it's just the energy of what's coming out. It just is natural for fear tactics to be used as a means of getting us to comply and do things, for the sake of everybody's health. Whether doesn't matter where it's coming from, the fact is that fear is used as a natural tool to get us to submit to whatever rules and regulations people want to put in place, okay? And I have no judgment about the rules that I'm going to share with you today, but what I will say is that I recognize that fear is being used as a tool to get us to comply. Now, it's our own choice, our individual choice, what we do with that. When I hear somebody say, it's making me feel unsafe, it's making me feel lost, the it's making me is where we're allowing our power to be taken away. Because we do not need to allow somebody else or something else to make us feel something. That is a choice we are making to feel that way. Whatever is going on is going on. We have a choice how we react to that. Nobody else can make us feel that way. It may feel that when people are pushing their agenda in our face, or they're trying to threaten us with vaccinations or threaten us with fines if we don't move, or whatever it is. So it may seem as if that they are trying to make us do something, but actually it's our choice whether we do that or not. So we've got to be really, really careful here about how we speak to ourselves, the language that we use, to ourselves and to people around us, and what we're also programming ourselves. When we say that they're making me feel afraid, we're saying, actually, I'm choosing to program myself with a fear that's being projected onto me by somebody else. So someone else is projecting a fear onto you, and you're literally saying, thank you, I'm going to take that and I'm going to encode myself. I'm going to bring that fear into myself, and I'm going to use it to change and influence my energetic space. And that's essentially what we are doing. So that's my position on things, and has been my position on things for a little while. And I'm here just providing what support I can, providing a listening ear, a shoulder to lie or cry on, providing safe spaces to have these conversations from a place of non-judgment, and providing therapeutic support for people at this time who really need it. And that's what I'm here doing. And part of that are these readings that I do. And so bearing in mind the context of where we are, what I've just spoken about this massive fear, this collective fear, we could say, this that we've all created together. We've all had a hand in creating this fear, and this fear accumulating and gathering that now is feeding all of us. So this was a really interesting reading. So the first card that came up, which is all about illumination and focus. So this is like really the focus of the whole reading. And what came out was gossip. I know it's backwards on these phones, but gossip. Okay, I'm gonna do all the cards, and then I'm gonna come back to the reading. So the next card that I pulled was the card in the north, which is shall we say wisdom. Okay, this is the key wisdom coming through, and the card that came up was, or is, isolation. Wow, so much of this going on right now. The third card, which was grief, and this is in the south, so this is creativity. So this is what we are creating. This is what we have an opportunity to create, or what we are creating. So what we're creating is grief. And the final, which is surrender. So it's all about the east and about surrendering and letting go of what no longer serves us. And the card that came up was Hireth, longing for home. Homesick for the stars, homesick for the place that is our home, ultimately the stars, or should we say divinity, or I might even say oneness, the place that we all came from. So I would say that the news, the fear that's being pumped out through the media, the information we're hearing, the hearsay, people saying this, people saying that, like death count is this is, this is how we have to behave. All this kind of communication, this information that's coming through all these different channels that's then being passed on through Chinese whispers is the gossip. This card is literally telling us that what is going on is mere gossip. What is gossip? Gossip is like mindless, pointless, irrelevant chatter, judgment, storytelling about other people. And this is so central to what is going on planet Earth. The drama triangle, which is a beautiful tool for understanding our own victim consciousness, our savior consciousness, our perpetrator consciousness, and how those all work together, is really, really important at this time in us understanding how we perpetuate fear, how we take on fear, perpetuate fear, and how we utilize these different archetypes, the savior, the victim, and the perpetrator, and how within these roles that we play, we are continually just like recycling these cycles of fear. And it's ultimately a form of gossip. It can be seen as the same thing. It's mindless, pointless, judgmental chatter that is being spread and that is influencing people and taking away their power, taking away their energy, because that energy that we're putting into this, we could be putting into creating the world that we want to live in. We could be putting this energy into creating the life that we want to live, the life that we desire. We could be putting this into boosting our immune system so that we have little chance of contracting any virus or any bacteria or anything that's going to bring us down. And so I just was so blown away that this card came up, because it gives a very it gives a completely different perspective, but a bang on perspective of how we can really see what is going on out there for what it really is: mindless gossip. Gossip about you and about me, you know? People who want to wear masks, people who don't want to wear masks, people who are complying, people who are not complying. What's going to happen to you if you do comply? What's going to happen to you if you don't comply? All of this gossip, all of this wasteful drain of our energy, sparking debate, sparking animosity, sparking judgment between us, is just pointless and irrelevant. But that's where we are focusing our energy at this time, away from focusing on what is important for us right now. So the key wisdom is that actually isolation is really the key problematic area, shall we say, of these times. That, you know, whatever is going on is what is going on, but actually the isolation that so many people, the people who are the most vulnerable, who are struggling the most, who are facing the most of the harshest of realities, are really very isolated. They feel very isolated emotionally, and they are very physically isolated. You know, I have just in my close circle, you know, individuals who have tried to take their own lives, who have ended up in, you know, sectioned under the Mental Health Act, who have, you know, had emotional breakdowns, who have found themselves jobless, destitute, like all these arrays of the extremities of the human experience is happening right now. And you know what? It has to happen for us to see it and experience it and see what is there to be healed and what we're attracting into our life. So it's all good for everybody. You know, there's no judgment as to why and how people are going through these struggles. But what is really key is that the isolation that is going on is really exacerbating these situations for people. And through that, we are creating a whole load of grief, not just through the isolation of the lockdown and the quarantine, which, you know, really, let's face it, is an agenda. It's a very convenient thing that's happened, that, you know, we've had to go into lockdown and quarantine for something that is as common as ordinary viruses that we already have existing on the planet, that we haven't had to go into quarantine from. And now that we're being forced to isolate, it's causing this grief, this incredible grief for people having to completely isolate themselves, change their lives, to not be connected as much to nature, to their communities, to their families. And this is going to make us sicker. This is going to make us sicker, and it's going to feed the beautiful, not so beautiful, however you want to see it, very clever system that's in place, the very, very clever system that's there to, you know, make money from us as we get well, or get sick and get well again. And all of this is feeding into that cycle. It's helping it tick along. It's adding more business to all of that. And again, that's not coming from a place of judgment. It's coming from a place of fact. It's a well-known fact on the planet that this is just how things are constructed here, and it is what it is. But this is what's happening. Collective grief is being created, and that energy is making us sicker. It's making us more disconnected. And ultimately, all we want to do is go home, back to where we came from, is to feel that connection with our divinity, with our true selves, to feel that connection to the stars, to oneness from where we came from. And this is, oh, there it goes. This is in the West, which is all about surrendering and letting go. And actually, these are all the things that we have got to surrender and let go of in order to find our way back to oneness, to ourselves, to our divinity. There's no point in blaming the institutions, in blaming the government, in blaming any of that, because if that wasn't there, if COVID didn't happen, if lockdown didn't happen, if the pharmaceutical, organizations were not benefiting from this, how would we see the reality that we've created? How would we come to terms with that if we weren't faced with this mad circus? It's one thing to be like, oh my God, it's so crazy, I'm just gonna have to suppress it. That's a choice that some of us make. But I'm choosing to be like, oh my God, this has got so crazy. I have no choice but to face it and to look inwards at what have I done to help create this? What have I not healed within myself that my energy is contributing to manifesting this world that we live in, where we have easily created gossip, we have very easily created isolation and grief and sickness. We have all created this together. So it's time for us to take responsibility, starting with personal responsibility, to take our power back by standing up for who we are, just simply being okay with who we are, simply being in acceptance of who we are, with our flaws, with our mistakes, which are all an illusion. All of the challenges that we face, all of the things that we've done aren't really real. It's all a part of this game that we play. And actually, part of the game is to do stuff and be like, oh, that happened. Okay, I'm going to learn from that. And I'm going to change this thought and I'm going to program myself in a different way. And I'm going to, through that struggle and challenge, I'm going to remember the work that I need and want to do to stay in my presence, to stay in my joyfulness, to stay in my blissfulness. That resistance, that shadow is showing us what is there to be worked on so that we can come back to love, to joy, to being whole again. It's through us being fragmented, getting broken up, that we see all the pieces that make us whole and go, right, okay, let's put this back together. Let's heal this over and let's go back to being whole. Because we are whole in every minute. There's nothing we need to do. We don't even need to worry about being fully healed before we can be whole. We're already whole. It's just that healing journey. It just, it helps. It helps us. It helps to get ourselves out the way and to be clearer. When we just don't have these broken records going on in our mind, when we heal and that stuff is quieter and it just makes things easier. It makes it easier to be present. But you already are whole and you already are healed. And I hope this transmission has helped you in some way. Sending you so much love and so much admiration for being here and doing your thing. It is a miracle, an absolute beautiful miracle. As are you.